Okay, good evening friends. Welcome once again to the video tutorial. Today what we will do is, we will try and understand what are some of the major reasons for non-recommendation through the stage 1 selection. Now you would have realized that a lot of people go there to the SSB and get screened out in the very first day. And then we keep wondering what went wrong. We have done a lot of preparation, a lot of expectation, and then suddenly we are told that you have not made it through the stage 1 itself. And when we go to the SSB for the next time, second time, we really don't know where we have to work. So we go to various coaching centers and XYZ, they tell us to do this, do that and all that, but ultimately it does not turn out in terms of a desirable result. Now I'll show you an official letter which talks about the major reasons for stage 1 selection or non-recommendation. We'll go by one those points, and subsequently we'll try and understand what these points are communicating and how probably they have arrived on these conclusions. Now this is a letter from the military army headquarters military training department. It's called MT14, and the first point they say is because of the low assimilation skills by the candidate. Assimilation skills matlab विश्लेषण करने की शक्ति. So candidates are found to be low in their assimilation skills. The second point they say is poor communication skill. It is both in the verbal domain as well as in the non-verbal. तो कहीं ना कहीं हमारा interpersonal relationship और communication skills के problem. Second is negativity. Now what is negativity? This we will see when we look at the story writing part. कि कहीं ना कहीं हमारा perception जो है वो पिक्चर को लेके शायद कुछ गलतियां करते हैं उसमें. एंड वैसे तो हम एसएसबी में बी पॉजिटिव एवरीबडी कीप सेइंग, बट व्हाट इज दिस बी पॉजिटिव? शायद इसको हमने पूरी तरह से समझा नहीं है या इसको बहुत ही ज़्यादा ओवर हाइप कर दिया है. देयर इज अ रिक्वायरमेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड द होल आइडिया ऑफ व्हाट इज बी पॉजिटिव. नेक्स्ट इट सेज प्री कंसीव्ड नोशंस ऑब्लिक रॉन्ग कोचिंग. प्री कंसीव्ड नोशन का मतलब पहले से ही कुछ इम्प्रेशंस बने हुए हैं, कुछ एक एटीट्यूड बना हुआ है, या एक ऐसा रटा है टाइप का एक स्टोरीज बनाए हुए हैं जिसके कारण मेरा माइंड का फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी ख़त्म हो जाता है. एंड मे बी इसमें कोचिंग सेंटर्स का एक बहुत बड़ा रोल है, बिकॉज आप लोग जब कोचिंग में जाते हो, एम ऑफ एनी कोचिंग इज़ टू गिव यू गाइडलाइन, मार्गदर्शन का. लेकिन अगर मार्गदर्शन देने वाला ही अगर गलत मार्गदर्शन देना शुरू कर दे तो नेचुरली आपका डायरेक्शन गलत हो जाएगा. आपका एफर्ट्स को, स्केलर एफर्ट्स को वेक्टर एफर्ट्स में कन्वर्ट करना, यानी कि दिशा को सही करना है कोचिंग सेंटर का काम. बट अगर वो ना करके वो खुद ही अगर रटा उटा लगा के आपको एक रॉन्ग तरीके से फीड कर दे, सो इट विल लीड टू रॉन्ग कोचिंग. इसके बाद में मैं एक और लेटर दिखाऊंगा जिसमें रॉन्ग कोचिंग के बारे में किसी सैनिक स्कूल के प्रिंसिपल ने क्या लिखा हुआ है. Next is low IQ, intelligent quotient. Now, what does intelligent quotient, low IQ का मतलब है? See, one thing is, armed forces is looking for average caliber boys and girls. But इसमें भी what is more interesting is, अगर आपने GTO outdoor task वाला वो वीडियो देखा होगा, वहाँ पे मैंने एक रेफरेंस दिया है, basic intelligence vis-a-vis effective intelligence. Now you may be extremely highly intelligent in terms of your basic intelligence, लेकिन आप उसको अगर अप्लाई ना कर सको डे टू डे इवेंट्स में, then probably you are not making or meeting the requirement of the armed forces. So इस low IQ की बात को हम आगे भी देखेंगे किसी और ग्रुप में. एंड सेकंड इसी का एक और पहलू है कि जो आपका स्टेज 1 में जो इंटेलिजेंस टेस्ट है, दैट इज द वर्बल एंड द नॉन वर्बल इंटेलिजेंस टेस्ट होता है, इसको दे कन्वर्ट इनटू सम स्कोर which is called the OIR, Officer Intelligent Rating. अगर इस रेटिंग में भी आप अगर बहुत नीचे आ जाते हो तो it has an implication on the stage 1 selection. उसको हम अगले स्लाइड में 2-3 स्लाइड के बाद उसको देखेंगे. और नेक्स्ट इज बेसिक एंड लैक ऑफ बेसिक एनालिटिकल एबिलिटीज. बेसिक एनालिटिकल एबिलिटीज है ना, अगर बहुत सारा इन्फॉर्मेशन दिया, इन्फॉर्मेशन को एक सही ढंग से समझना और उसको समझ के उसमें से मीनिंग निकाल के अपनी समझ से, नॉट रटा अपनी समझ से कोई कंक्लूजन्स में आना. अगर वो बेसिक एनालिटिकल एबिलिटीज़ नहीं है तो कहीं ना कहीं इट अफेक्ट्स योर परफॉर्मेंस इन द स्टेज 1. नेक्स्ट इज पुअर टाइम मैनेजमेंट. नाउ दिस कैन बी इन टर्म्स ऑफ not being able to complete your verbal and non-verbal intelligence test. It can also be in the form of not being able to write the complete PPDT story, or it can also be not being able to organize your story narration in the discussion part, जो जिसमें आपको 1 मिनट दिया जाता है. So it can include a lot of things. So time management. Next is low perception of number of characters, their gender, their age, mood, and all those things जो कि हमको PPDT के पिक्चर स्टोरी राइटिंग में करना होता है ना. ये तभी आप कर पाओगे जब आप अपनी समझ से स्टोरी बनाओगे और परसीव करोगे इस इवेंट को. तो मैं शायद अगले ट्यूटोरियल में बेस्ड ऑन आपका फीडबैक मैं एक और बहुत रिक्वेस्ट आया है कैंडिडेट का कि स्टोरी कैसे लिखना होता है. सो आई विल बी अपलोडिंग अनदर वीडियो ऑन हाउ टू राइट दी PPDT एज वेल एज TAT स्टोरीज. बट वो इसके ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा कि आप लोग कितना मुझे इस वीडियो के ऊपर और मेरे पुराने वीडियोस के ऊपर फीडबैक देते हो. सो योर फीडबैक के आधार पर आई विल पोस्ट मोर वीडियोस. एंड लास्ट इज लैक ऑफ इमेजिनेशन. इमेजिनेशन का मतलब कल्पना की शक्ति. नाउ स्टोरी राइटिंग में 2 कॉम्पोनेंट है. एक वो कॉम्पोनेंट जो आपको स्टिमुलस के फॉर्म में दिखाया जाता है, यू कैन कॉल इट द कॉन्क्रीट इनपुट जो कि आप देख सकते हो. और दूसरा वो कॉम्पोनेंट है जो आप अपने विचारों के माध्यम से और अपने कल्पना की शक्ति के कारण क्रिएट करते हो. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर एक पिक्चर दिखाया है, उस पिक्चर तो आपको दिख रहा है, उस पिक्चर के अंदर जो मीनिंग डालते हो वो आप अपने कल्पना के आधार पर डालते हो. सो यू हैव ए कॉन्क्रीट इनपुट एंड देन यू हैव एन एब्स्ट्रैक्ट इनपुट. नाउ एब्स्ट्रैक्ट इनपुट में आपका अपना फैकल्टीज, इंटेलेक्चुअल फैकल्टीज इन्वॉल्व होता है. बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली जब आप गलत तरीके से कोच किया जाते हो तो आपको स्टोरीज रटवा दिया जाता है. आई हैव सीन कैंडिडेट जिन्होंने 50-50 स्टोरियों को रटा हुआ है, WAT को रटा हुआ है. रटने के आधार पर आप अपनी कल्पना शक्ति का विकास नहीं कर सकते हो. वी विल सी दिस इन सब्सिक्वेंट स्लाइड्स. एंड ऑल्सो आई रिक्वेस्ट यू इस स्लाइड आगे के प्रेजेंटेशन को देखने से पहले कि आप लोग जरूर अंडरस्टैंडिंग TAT करके एक वीडियो अपलोड किया हुआ 2 हफ्ते पहले, उससे ज़रूर देखना. उसमें एक स्टोरी को लाइन बाय लाइन इंटरप्रेट भी किया हुआ है. उससे आपको समझ में आएगा कि कितना इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि आप अपने विचारों को बहुत सही तरीके से रखें, बजाय कि एक रटा किसी का दिया वाला स्टोरी को वहाँ पे चिपका के आ जाओ. दैट डज नॉट सर्व. सो दिस इज एन ऑफिशियल लेटर फ्रॉम मिलिट्री ट्रेनिंग डिपार्टमेंट MT14 से. नाउ What we will see is, now ये एक लेटर है प्रिंसिपल सैनिक स्कूल चित्तौड़गढ़ से. मैं चित्तौड़गढ़ से भी जुड़ा हुआ हूँ. उनके 2010 में ऑफिशियली उनके पास गया था. और व्हाट वी विल डू इज, इसमें पैरा नंबर 2, पैरा नंबर 3 एंड पैरा नंबर 4 को मैं आपको पढ़ के सुनाऊंगा. और पैरा नंबर 2 में आप देखोगे कि कोचिंग का कितना गलत प्रभाव है और ऑफिशियली इसको एक्नॉलेज भी किया जाता है. now इसका पैरा नंबर 3 को मैं हाईलाइट करता हूँ और मैं आपके समझ के लिए इसको पढ़ता भी हूँ. Now, इस लेटर का पैरा नंबर 2 बोलता है, क्लियरिंग द रिटन एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन इज रिलेटिवली ईजी फॉर आवर कैडेट्स बट वेरी फ्यू क्वालिफाई द SSB प्राइमरली फ्रॉम लैक ऑफ प्रॉपर ओरिएंटेशन. This is in spite of training at various private coaching academies that tend to do more harm than good. Let me repeat it. Private coaching academies that tend to do more harm than good. Serious. It's a letter from, official letter from Principal Sainik Schools, Chittaugarh, to one of the major journals in Northern Command where I was posted then. Now in the second paragraph he writes something like this. He says, we have been reliably informed of the expertise acquired by Lieutenant Colonel Ganesh Babu of 14 Field Subgroup in the area and are very keen that he runs a 1-week orientation capsule for our candidates during December 2010 before they get called up for the SSB. And last paragraph he writes, may I request you to spare the services of Colonel Ganesh Babu accordingly in the national interest. Now, incidentally, I was permitted to go and give this session to Sainik School Chittaugarh, and subsequently I was called by Sainik School Nalanda, and whole lot, and I will keep posting them, those details, and you will understand what is this, what I am doing, which probably is different from any other private coaching centers. It will be interesting to know that. I'll be posting more videos to that effect. Now, if you see the entire process of flowchart of the SSB is conducted in two parts. You have the stage 1 testing, which is conducted on the day 1, and then those people who clear the stage 1 testing, they go through the stage 2 testing. Now, within the stage 1, you have two tests. One is the intelligence test, and second is the PPDT. Now, in the intelligence test, you have two kinds of tests. That is the non-verbal intelligence test, which consists of various other kinds of tests within that, and then you have the verbal intelligence, which also has various other subtests within that. So these details we will cover sometime else, and I'll make it available also. In case you want, you can send it mail, and I'll send you a couple of practice intelligence test papers just to get a feel of it. Now, what is interesting is, depending upon how you perform in the intelligence test, these are evaluated immediately after finish with the intelligence test, and it is converted into something called Officer Intelligent Rating. It is called OIR, Officer Intelligent Rating. Now, your performance in the verbal and non-verbal, they are grouped under 5 categories. It is called OIR 1, which is the highest marks that you can get, and you can say it is the outstanding marks that you got. Then OIR 2 is above average, OIR 3 is high average, OIR 4 is average, and OIR 5 is below average. So 1 being the highest in intelligent rating and 5 being the lowest. Now this is an implication on your result on the stage 1. The higher the OIR, that is towards 1 or maybe 1, 2, your probability of making through the stage 1 increases, of course depending upon the second part, that is the story writing and the discussion that included. And when you come lower towards OIR 5 or maybe 4, the probability increases. Probability decreases. We will see subsequently how does it affect. So this is the first part, intelligence test. And in the second part, that is the story writing part, this also is conducted in 2 parts. In the first part, you have to write a story based on a picture, and then in the second part, you have to discuss amongst each other and come to a agreed group solution. Your groups are made into smaller groups of 16 or 17 or whatever, and then you have to do that. So that's fine. Now let's just see the process of PPDT, the first part. In the first part, you will be shown a picture. This picture will remain in front of you for 30 seconds. Now within this 30 seconds, you have to perceive this picture, you have to understand the picture in terms of certain parameters that are told, that is the number of characters, their gender, their age, their mood, and then the title of the story that you decide to write for this. And these details have to be put in this square box that is shown above on the, you can see on the screen. And you have to mark, and there are certain parameters. The first character that you see, you have to put them into a cross and into a circle. Into a circle, and the other character, and mark those details, and the other character you put it without a circle, the second character. So in this case, for example, if you see the male character first, then you put the male character and his detail in the circle as shown here, and the female character, if you have seen it after having seen the male character in terms of the focus, you put it without a circle. Those details we can discuss sometime later. And then all these things you have to do it in 1 minute. And then you are given 4 minutes to write the story, and this story has to be written on the portion that is given below the box, and it has to be written in 3 parts. What led to this situation, what is currently going on or what is currently happening, and what is the final outcome. Now this is very interesting, because unless you get the what led to this situation accurately, your second portion, that is what is currently going on, will go wrong. So what I will do is, since I have got a large number of mails based on my previous TAT understanding TAT video, there is a request from large number of candidates to give how to write a TAT response. Now that's fantastic, I'll do that, but only based on your feedback. Unfortunately, I'm not getting feedback through on the YouTube channel, so I'll request you to put your comments at the bottom, so that I know that these videos are making sense to you, and based on that I'll take on further. Okay, fine. So you write this in you get 4 minutes to write this story, and you write your response. Now these responses are based on what led to the situation, what is currently going on, what is the final outcome. Now in the second part, you are broken into a group of say about 16, 17, and then each one of you gets 1 minute time to give your individual narration. Now in this individual narration, you have to again give the number of characters you have seen, their gender, age, mood, and the title of the story, and then the whole story. To do this, you get only 1 minute. Now unless you have certain degree of control on the language, certain degree of self-confidence in your own ability to express this in front of a group, you will not be able to complete this narration in 1 minute time. That we will see. Now once the complete narration of the group is over, as the last person finishes, the time for discussion starts. Now invariably you would have observed those who have gone to the SSB. This discussion becomes like a fish market. That's very unfortunate, but the point is that's the way it is, and predominantly it is because of poor coaching and poor communication skills, because there's a tendency to ratto story, ratta maro, and then come and vomit it. Vomiting is not discussion. So people do a lot of mistakes in the process of taking part in the discussion. So we'll see, and that causes them to get into non-recommendation. Anyway, now based on your performance in the PPDT story narration and the discussion, the assessors, the 3 assessors are sitting there in front of you to evaluate the discussion stage. That is an interviewing officer, a psychologist, and a GTO. A GTO is the one who is conducting this PPDT discussion portion. Now based on your performance, the assessors have 3 decisions to convey independently. That is, they can give you N, signifying not recommended for stage 2. They can give you a D. D means doubtful. Yes, doubtful means not sure whether he should go or not. We will see what does it mean. And then Y. Y means yes. Yes means recommended for stage 2. Now based on this N, D, Y independently given by these 3 assessors, that is the interviewing officer, psychologist, and the GTO, and based on the OIR that you score. OIR can be OIR 1, that is the highest, to the lowest, that is OIR 5. So depending upon this, we have a table. I'll explain you these things subsequently. So based on that, we come to a decision whether you clear your stage 1 or you don't clear stage 1. So both the intelligence test matters and your performance in the PPDT and the discussion part definitely matters. So higher the OIR, your probability increases. Just to give you an example, assuming that you are OIR 1, that is the highest, and then after the PPDT, let us take one of the assessors. Say for example, the GTO gives you 1D, 1 doubtful, the others say no. With 1D and OIR 1, you actually make it through the stage 1. Whereas, let us take your OIR 5, that is the lowest. In that case, you require triple Y, that is Y from all 3 assessors to make it. So that's a range of influence that the OIR has on the recommendation or non-recommendation on the stage 2. For example, let us take another case. Let us take your OIR 3. So that's in the average thing. In that case, minimum you require D from all the 3 assessors to get recommended through the stage 1. So we'll see this combination. So there is, what I want to say is, you need to do well in your intelligence test, and you also need to do well both in your story writing part and the discussion part. Anyway, with that as the backdrop, let's come to some of the major reasons that causes rejection of the candidates through the stage 1. Now these points that I'm going to give you, please understand them, that on the basis of those official letter has been generated. So you need to understand that whatever I'm giving are ultimately culminating that official letter in various forms that they have been conveying through that. So please and I'm sure whatever is applicable to you will realize, and must make sure that you get over those issues. Now the first reason may be that, for example, while the briefing for the discussion phase was going, after the PPDT test was there, and you were being briefed by the GTO for the discussion part, and you were not paying attention while the briefing was on, and actually you were busy preparing your own story, or memorizing or murmuring your own story. So you are doing that motion of your lips, trying to memorize it, but acting as if you are listening to the briefing. No, you are not doing what you're supposed to do. You must listen to the briefing. So that can be one reason. Next is you are specifically briefed by the GTO that in case you've not been able to complete your story while in the first part, that is story writing part, please do not write it and complete it in this part, that is the discussion part. But in spite of that instruction, some candidates continue to write and complete the story. Don't do that. That may lead you to non-recommendation, because you're not adhering to the instructions. Next is, say for example, in the individual story narration, when your turn comes, you are so underconfident that you, through your head movement, you say, I don't want to give, or maybe you're not able to speak, or you convey through body language that you do not want to participate in that. It is definitely you're going to be non-recommended through that. This clearly shows that you're too underconfident to face a group. Next is, let's say for example, the sheet in which you write the story is with you. And if you require that sheet for the entire duration of your individual story narration, that means you are again lacking in confidence, and you have poor language skills. And unless you have the sheet, you are not able to give those details, even though you are yourself the creator of that story. So that can lead you to, stage 1 rejection. Next is, it is also possible that when others were giving their individual story, you're supposed to listen to them, because unless you listen to them, how will you participate in the discussion which is going to happen in the next phase? And in that process, when others are speaking, instead of listening, you're looking at your own paper and trying to memorize it. But in between you're nodding your head, because coaching wala dhyan dena aur sir hilate rehna. Sir hilane se kya fayda if you're not paying attention? So if you're not paying attention to others' story when they are speaking, but you're involved in your own, ratta maro, your own story, you are going to damage yourself. No. Next is, it is possible that you give a very good story, but not at all relevant to the picture or the stimulus shown. And probably it is a previously prepared story, or it is a coached response. So you have a good story which has no relevance to the picture. It makes no sense. So that also can lead you to, non-recommendation. Now, it is possible that not only you miss the stimulus completely, you give a pre-coached or a ready-made story, and then in the discussion phase, because you have got good language skills, you are stuck with your own story. And then even though you have understood that others have made a different story based on the actual stimulus that are given, but you are inflexible to adapt to them. Now that is definitely going to be very, very damaging. So in case we have made a mistake, if you feel that you have written something which is irrelevant, be flexible enough to accept your mistake and go with the flow rather than getting adamant. So that shows that you are lacking in flexibility and you have poor acceptance on others' idea. So it is a disaster. Now, there may be possibility that even though you would have written a good story, because of stress or because of some other problem or whatever, you are highly not in a position to give your story. And you are too shaky in your language, your body is shivering. All those things can definitely lead you to rejection, and also not being able to maintain eye contact. So those are short cases where you are not doing what you're supposed to. Now, language skills. In case if you have to do from the word go to the end, if you are dependent on Hindi, I don't think it is a very good idea. You have to speak in English. In case we get stuck one or the other place, you can speak a couple of words in Hindi and get back to English. But a pure Hindi approach may not be possible unless your story or your discussion is extremely good in terms of the idea and in terms of the presentation and in terms of your interpersonal skills. Then it is okay. But if it is purely Hindi with not good idea, not good other skills, then probably that's going to be a little difficult. So instead of going purely Hindi, you can go for English, a mix of Hindi and English rather than pure Hindi. Now, it's nothing against national language, but this is a requirement, organizational requirement, and I'll explain somewhere else what is the importance of English skills in SSP performance. Next is, if you appear too underconfident and throughout you're looking down or maybe looking through the people, not making eye contact, your body shivering, too much of movement of your legs, a pen, making the tick sound with the ballpoint pen, all those indicators are there that you are extremely anxious or nervous, and your body language is communicating too much of weakness. Now that's going to be disastrous. Next is in case you exceed your 1 minute time and the GTO points out to you that you're running out of time, and in spite of that you still continue doing that, then you're definitely poorly organized in terms of your time management. So that can can be a little tricky. Next, in many cases the candidate, what did they do is, immediately after the story writing part is over, we have a tea break. In the tea break, they make a decision that we will go inside and come to a common conclusion without making any, without cutting each other. We'll just try to be very, very cooperative. It's called group think. So group think means nobody cuts each other, and there is a very, very, actually it does not happen that way. Even though you were promised each other that will not cut, but once you come inside the discussion, when the actual discussion starts, the true colors comes out. But sometime it can happen. In that case, the discussion does not happen in a manner it should happen. So that also, you come with a ready-made story even before you enter the room, and because of that, the whole process does not happen the way it should happen. So we miss out on those details. So that is another damaging thing that can happen. Now, there are some cases, maybe for whatever reason, we will have to find out the reason. There are some candidates who give a very good story, matching with the stimulus. They are mild, but in the 1 minute narration, they give it. But in the second part, when the discussion starts, probably they are too mild, or maybe poor social skills, or maybe lack of confidence, or maybe whatever will be the reason, or maybe sometimes they are too decent to participate in the group discussion, and because of which, in spite of giving a good story but not being able to participate in the discussion phase, sometimes you lose out on those candidates. So and these tasks are so fast. By the time you say Jack Robinson, the task is over. So you have to participate irrespective of what is the situation. Now how, what, when, and all those things that can be discussed, but the point is you need to be participating in the discussion in a manner that it is expected. You cannot keep quiet just because you're not getting time. Next is, if you are one of those bullying kind, or a kind of person who is dominating, not allowing anybody to speak, only trying to convey what you want to convey, and you want that others to blindly follow you, damaging. You are going to damage yourself. Not a disruptive kind of participation is not desirable from the candidates. Next is, towards the final group story, you fight that you will only give the group story and nobody else. Now that is not the way it has to be done. The briefing is that any one of you does not matter. You nominated by the group, so it has to be by nomination, by the acceptance of others members, and not by bulldozing your way through. That's very unfortunate. A lot of people do this, and it clearly indicates that you're too much dominating, selfish, and all those things. Now, why you do that? That we have to introspect. Is it a phenomena out of coaching? Maybe yes. We will see that. Oh, okay, sometimes you are nominated to give the group story, so you're supposed to give the group story, but unfortunately the group story has not evolved, so you end up giving your own story. And sometimes even if the group story has taken some form, because you were not paying attention, so you end up giving your own story, damaging. We don't want to hear your individual story when you were supposed to give the group story. Now sometimes what happens is, two dominant people fight for giving the group story. One says I will give, the other says no, I will give. So this clash goes on. The other group members are silent because they don't know how to handle this issue. Now, in the process of this conflict, what happens is, one of them identify a very meek and mild candidate, and he says, okay, neither you give nor I give, he will give. Oh, now that's not the way conflict has to be resolved. Now what you have actually done is, you have put the burden on a person who is actually incapable of giving that. And then because now you have said it, now the group members, because they have to cooperate, unfortunately this is no cooperation, so they say, okay, we have no problem. So this gentleman is made to stand up. This poor guy has not been able to speak his own story. How can he give the group story? So in your ego clash, you sacrifice one innocent person. Damaging. Both of you will go down. Anyway. It also depends highly on the kind of group that you have. In case if you have a group that is more decent, more accommodating, everybody is accommodating each other's points, that's wonderful. Everybody gets a chance. But if it's a fish market kind of a thing, daldal mein agar aap uchalne logoge, to sabke sab dubenge. So you have mass rejection through stage 1. When it's a highly, highly volatile and a very, very dominating, shouting kind of a thing, because nobody is making sense. Everybody goes out. You would have seen mass rejections in stage 1. Now, sometimes you have candidates who one or two candidates who are overly bearing, over dominating and all that, and others are helplessly watching, thinking we have to cooperate with them and not being able to handle those people. So your inability to handle these dominating people can also damage your own performance, because you are not able to perform in an expected manner when somebody is behaving in a destructive manner. So your interpersonal skills come. इस टाइम में आप अपना स्टोरी और डिस्कशन करना से कोई मतलब नहीं, because there's nobody listening to it. इस टाइम में your requirement is to demonstrate certain degree of interpersonal skills and being able to manage that. Instead of doing that, you prefer to keep quiet, conveying that I'm not able to handle this person. So that's it. So that's not desirable action by a candidate at that time. So, and ultimately then, so all what I want to say is, in case suppose your OIR is very low, say for example it is 5, then you give a very poor narration of the story, and then your participation is also very, very poor. It's a definite not recommendation through the stage 1. Okay, besides that, there can be certain other reasons also. Suppose you are overweight, extremely visibly obese. In that case, we don't wait for your medical people to reject you or to non-recommend. There's no point taking you through the entire testing, because you're so physically out of shape that we decide to non-recommend you through the stage 1 itself. And also sometimes there are some physical deformity which is visible. Say for example you have a squint eye, or maybe one leg is shorter than the other, it's visible. One heel is 3 inch and other is 1 inch. So you have a problem with it. Something which is, or maybe you have a stammering problem or stutter problem which is hampering your performance. So these are some visible, or maybe we can hear it through your communication. So we don't wait for medical rejection, we decide not to put you through. Okay, अगला जो point है वो सुनने में थोड़ा सा comfortable नहीं होगा. Now stage 1 जो है वो अपने आप में एक load management tool भी है, because of various administrative constraints. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपने आजकल देखा होगा यूनिवर्सिटी एंट्री स्कीम और जो टेक्निकल एंट्री स्कीम है TGC, इसमें आप लोगों को 6 बजे रिपोर्ट किया करने के लिए बोलते हैं. नॉर्मली जो है 2 बजे 2 o'clock you have to report the MCU, whereas in these entries you are told to report at the selection center main gate directly. So there is no bus given to you. You are not given the breakfast also, and in fact the reporting day and the stage 1 is conducted the same time. Why is it happening? It is because of the volume of the candidates who are reporting are very high, and the SSB is not designed to cater these kinds of a load. So uske liye you need to have a system where it is able to handle a load that is manageable by it. Little plus minus is okay, but not this kind. For example, in any SSB, there are 2 interviewing officers, 4 GTOs and 4 psychologists. In fact, including the technical officers who are the service officers doing the job of the psychologist. Now, किसी भी लोड का जो design capacity है, that is based on the number of GTOs. For example, एक army या navy board में there are 4 GTOs, and at any point of time, 1 GTO can take a load of 10 candidates. So 4 GTOs into 10, so 40 is the maximum capacity. अगर उसमें से एक GTO छुट्टी पे चला जाए, so it is 3 GTOs into 10, 30 हो जाता है. So in case अगर let us assume कि 4 GTOs are available, so 40 is the stake. But अगर उसकी जगह में आप 45 रख देते हो, so you will need to borrow 1 GTO from a different board. So this borrowed GTO has to do his own assessment, plus he has to do this additional load from this SSB which has got 45 or maybe 40 plus candidate. So the point is, unfortunately, this is also a load management tool. और उसके कारण डिपेंडिंग अपॉन जब स्ट्रेंथ बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाता है, समटाइम फॉर एग्जांपल फॉर एनी एंट्री absentee batch में the rejection rates are very high in the stage 1. Why? Because the volume of people reporting is more. SSB cannot handle it, so they become very, very ruthless in the stage 1. So even sometime candidates who can otherwise get cleared in a normal low strength, low reporting may get eliminated here. And I'm very, very blunt in telling you this truth, but it is a fact. So you can say that because of the administrative constraints in terms of the messing, in terms of accommodation, in terms of the testing infrastructures, in terms of the availability of the SSRs, stage 1 is also a load management tool. You may not like to hear this. So you have to be really, really good both in the intelligence test performance and also in the PPDT, both in the story writing part, narration part, and the discussion part. So you need to be careful about that. Now I hope that you found this video useful, and I'll request you to share your own experience with the stage 1 as well as the SSP experience here. And also I'll request you, in case if you feel there are a couple of other reasons that you feel maybe the reasons for stage 1, I'll request you to post it in the comment section of the YouTube. And what I will do is, just to get an idea about how you're writing the stories as of now, from whatever source you've prepared yourself. And also what I'm going to give you now will be a tool for me to upload the next video, which will be based on these. What I will do is I'll give you a sample picture, and you will have to write a story on that, and you'll write it on the same format in which you otherwise write the PPDT. So what I'll do is I'll show you a picture for 30 seconds. It will be a simple picture, and then observe the picture carefully and then write these details in 1 minute. The number of characters you see in this picture, their gender, their age, their mood, and then give it some title of the story, and then take another 4 minutes to write your complete story. And the story, I told you, has to be written in 3 parts: what led to this situation, what is currently happening, and what is the final outcome. Once you do this, I'll request you to mail it on afosop@gmail.com, and I'll try and give you a feedback on that. But I'll only give you a feedback provided you subscribe for this YouTube video and also put your comments here on this entire video. Only then I'll give you the feedback on that. So this is the picture. Observe it carefully. You would have seen this picture earlier also. In fact, there's the previous video that I posted on understanding TAT also is on this picture only. That besides, write your own response. And I'll tell you one common story that comes on in this picture is this lady is an army officer's wife. The army officer is posted in Kargil or some place of that nature. He meets with an accident, or maybe he meets during an operation, he gets hurt or gets killed. The lady is initially upset, then she realizes that she has done it, her husband has done it for the sake of the country. So she recovers back and all those stories. That's a very, very coast and a common kind of a story. So don't write that. Write something else. So observe for 30 seconds. Okay. Once I get about 50 responses on this picture, I will start my video tutorials on how to write the TAT. So your participation is very, very important, and I'll request all of you to kindly write your responses and post it here. Also share with your friends. You can watch more of these videos, AFOSOP videos, by typing it on the YouTube. I'll request you to kindly like it, subscribe it, and share it as much as possible. You can also follow AFOSOP on the Facebook. The Facebook address is www.facebook.com/AFOSOP, and also you can visit the website is www.a4lsd.in. Now, regular 14 days AFOSOP classes are also held at Pune, and in case you wish to register for the same, you can again send a mail at the same email ID or call me at 827-55-77650. Request you to kindly share this video with your friends. This is the address of the Institute, Academy for Life Skills Development. It is at Pune. Come and experience the difference. You can attend one-day free sessions as per your convenience, and you will find the difference. Your feedback is important to me. Do let me know how did you find this video. Was it useful or not? And any suggestion to improve it is most welcome. Also, I'd like to know which other videos you would love or you would like to see, so that I can prepare them and upload it at suitable point of time. Also, for people who are from technical background, I'll request you to suggest me effective ways to promote AFOSOP videos amongst the SSP candidates. In case if you find it useful, constructive suggestions from you are most welcome, and we will try and see how can we partner so that it's promoted better. Thank you for watching this video. More to follow. I'm sure you will like them. Thank you very much.